Advanced simulations that foster higher-order thinking skills are called cognitive games. Highly cognitive games are based in a virtual interactive environment, or VIE. Advanced gaming products or cognitive games have 6 components, or elements in gameplay. The first is that the three-dimensional graphics in the game create a virtual reality, or VR. This environment is interactive, the characters are perceptive, and explorative. In the game, characters have to read, click, maneuver the mouse, manipulate objects, and use the keyboard for input. There is also a desire for speech and hearing interaction between the characters and the player. The player actively learns new knowledge for new purposes as they move through the game. In addition to these components, another component is that characters, other than the player, live and reside in the game. To demonstrate a highly cognitive game, we will be looking at the world of Fable 2. Fable 2 has three-dimensional graphics that create virtual environments or virtual reality. By looking at this picture, it is very realistic. It's almost like looking at a snapshot or a painting. Throughout the game, the player can interact with other players, non-player characters, and with the animals in the game. The player is required to be very perceptive in the game. By noticing the environment that they're in and manipulating objects in that environment to their advantage. In addition to this, Fable has set up a very explorative environment, in which there are several environments that the player can move through. The key with the environment is that there is persistent interaction over long periods of time. The player can enter the game and move about and age within the game. The player starts out as a young boy and grows into an adult. There is also a large, highly engaging explorative within the game, where the game player can proceed through a virtual community, meet several different players, and proceeds through the game as they encounter levels in the game, and they can play within either an easier setting or move through to a more difficult setting. The game Fable has a lot of interactive sites and environments. However, there is reading required in the game for the player to know how to manipulate the objects in the game and how to move through using their mouse and keyboard. Clicking on appropriate icons can help you move through the game and do such activities as dancing, laughing, cheering, and there's also an opportunity for you to influence people within the game. The player learns new knowledge as they move through the game. Knowledge including how to move through different areas in the game by manipulation of the mouse and keyboard. In addition, there is an entire endgame within Fable that's called pub games, in which the player must learn how to manipulate certain games like solitaire, card games, and also games that you would find like roulette within the game. These games help players build their skills so that they can achieve more throughout the game. These games can become more intricate and require more cognitive processing by the player in order to move through the game, especially depending upon the difficulty that the game is set at. One of the greatest areas of gaining knowledge throughout the game is learning to play at night, learning that your character has to rest. The last component that was discussed was the fact that other people or characters reside in the game. Fable has many different side characters, from villains, heroes, to townspeople that you will encounter as you play through the game. Fable is about a man and his dog, but you can tell from the graphics, environments, and gameplay that it is also a higher order thinking cognitive game that takes place within a virtual interactive environment.